we're not doing this. No, stop. Look, I know what the title card says, but this is actually kind of not the case. Operation Mindcrime 3 sucks. It's fucking horrible. Any excitement I had for the album was dead as soon as the first song arrived, and any hope I had for the album diminished each song. I could have spent time at a bar re-entering alcoholism rather than listen to this album, and I wish I did, because this album has been just a waste of my time. And I know it's kind of easy to throw that term around, right? Waste of time. Oh, this thing was a waste of my time. Oh, it's a total waste of time. No. Operation Mindcrime 3 actually wasted my time. I set aside time in my schedule to listen to this fucking thing, and I could have entered into a new relationship, I could have entered into a new job, I could have bought a new gun. None of those things happened because I spent all of that available time on that album. So, no more words. Let's just get into brighter topics, shall we? It's come to my attention that I'm quite a negative person, so to offset some of that, I want to tell you guys a pretty wholesome story. This is the story about how I found out what the ball and stick game was. So one day before work, I got up out of bed and I did my usual routine, right? Brushed my teeth, did my hair, put some clothes on, not necessarily in that order, but you get the gist of it, right? And I'm on my way out the door, about to head to my car, when I notice that there's two kids across the street and they're playing a game with a ball and a stick. Or actually, both of them have sticks, and there's just one ball between them. I didn't necessarily have time to watch, but from what I saw of it, I really couldn't make out what sort of game they were playing. It wasn't like baseball, it wasn't like cricket, it wasn't like any of these sports that actually feature balls and sticks. This is like some other game totally. I didn't really have time to ruminate on it all that much. All I really knew was that that game was happening and I needed to get to work, so one thing before another, I went to work. It was a pretty normal, alright day. It wasn't too much happening for the most part, just your average everyday work day. Was there for the whole 9 hours, counting a 1-hour lunch, but, you know, it is what it is, right? Went and did the work, got paid, that's what mattered. So I came back home and I looked across the street just for the sake of it, and the kids weren't inside anymore. I mean, the sticks were on the ground and the ball were on the ground, but the kids weren't outside playing it anymore, so I'm like, oh, they must have finished their game, okay. So I went back inside, decided to hop on my computer, edit some videos a little bit. After like around, I think 10 p.m. or so, I stopped editing videos because I like to space out my editing in a way to where it's like not super, I don't know, burnout prone, if that makes sense. Like I'll get into a good editing streak and just do a lot of things and hammer it right out of the park, but then I end up doing a bit too much, and there's things that I'll stop halfway through because I'm just like, okay, my brain's fried, I'm spent, I've done like a lot so far, I'm just gonna call it quits for now. So before the actual burnout happened, I decided to call it quits and then switch over to playing video games for the rest of the night. And I probably did this until like 1 or 2 a.m. I think at the time. Because back then, unlike present day, where my bedtime is around 5 to 6 a.m., I was actually going to bed at a healthier time, like around 2 a.m. But I digress. I go to sleep around 2 a.m. that night. I wake up around 8 a.m. in the morning because my next shift is at 10 a.m. So on my way out the door, I'm going to my car and I look over and there the kids are again and they're still playing the ball and stick game. And at this point, it really didn't occur to me to like really think about what this game was. But now that I'd seen them doing it for 2 days in a row, a thought appeared in my head to be like, what is this game? Now granted, I really didn't have enough time to think about this again because I was on my way to work, but once I got to work and I was doing my shift, the thought was still in my head to try and check out whatever this game was. I didn't have any frame of reference to go on besides the ball and stick games that are already existing. Again, baseball, cricket, badminton, racquetball, lacrosse? Whatever I looked up, it just wasn't the case. Like, the game that these two kids were playing, from how much I'd seen of it, were nothing like any of those 5 games. So during my 10 a.m. shift, there's a brief point in time where I can grab my phone and start looking up, hey, what is the ball and stick game? And Google didn't help me. Lo and behold. Right, so I finish the rest of my shift, and when I do, I go back home and the sticks are in the yard, the ball is in the yard, the kids aren't in the yard. This is around like 7 to 8 p.m. evening time, give or take 15, 20 minutes, because I like to sometimes stay after work to like talk with some people who are either on their breaks, on their lunches, just coming in to the clock in area as I'm clocking out, you know, social stuff, you know. I didn't always used to be a gremlin. There was a time where I left my room and was talking to other people in the outside world and was generally a functioning member of society, but those times are long past now. I digress. I was chatting with some people and then decided to actually leave for the day. So when I came back and saw that the balls and the stick were in the, wait, no, sticks and the ball were in the yard, sorry about that, it got me thinking once again, okay, this ball and stick game, I've looked it up at work. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the rules are, but now I'm actually kind of invested in this. I want to know what this thing is. I want to know how it's played, just so I know. So I hop on my computer to go and edit videos, but just before that, I start looking on the search engine on my computer, Google, to find any sort of inkling that'll lead me onto this niche game that these kids are playing in the yard every time I go and leave for work. And I don't find anything. With all the terms that I searched up, with all the neighboring games that could possibly be related to this game that I searched up, there was nothing that really indicated or fit what I was seeing when these two kids were playing the game with the rules that they had. So I decided to give up on it for that night, go to editing some videos, went and did that until about like 1 or 2 a.m. because back then I used to go to bed at around 2 a.m. but nowadays I go to bed at around 6 a.m. so things have shifted a little bit, but I digress. Wake up the next day and it's actually an off day for me, so I don't have to go to work or anything, so I'm like, all right, cool. Maybe if the kids go out in the yard and play this ball and stick game again, I'll be able to watch for longer and pick up on these rules and see what's going on so that I can actually like take notes and write them down, right? Well, lo and behold, it was a Wednesday, school day. So yeah, they weren't there until like fucking 4 in the evening. And when I noticed they came home, the family immediately left and they were gone for like the rest of the night. I didn't know where they went until I realized not only was it a Wednesday, but it was also Easter. And the family that these kids are from are actually a Mormon family, so what I figured is that they like went to Utah to do some conquest or something. Another night comes and goes, I'm editing videos and then playing video games, and then I go to bed at around 2 a.m. I wake up the next day for my shift, because yeah. Another thing to note is that I was doing a lot of split shifts during this whole story, so there's going to be points where I'm like 1 day on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 1 day off, that sort of thing. And this was the beginning of a 2-day stretch, so the next day after this I'm also working. Both of these days I'm working around 3 p.m. to like midnight, so keep that frame of reference in mind for when we're going further in the story. So I wake up the next day kind of late because I'm going in at around 3 p.m. I think I wake up around like noon or 1 p.m. or something like that. And on my way out the door, I look over to my left and sure enough, in the daylight, these two kids are playing the ball and stick game. Except this time I actually had like 10 minutes or so to spare between getting in my car, going to work, and clocking in. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna spend a few minutes in my car, just observe this game. And the more that I noticed them playing the game and the more that I watched, the more I realized I'm not picking up on anything. 5 minutes had already gone by, so I'm like, you know what? In order to save the better half of 5 minutes and my job, I'm just gonna go straight to work. So I go to work and I start doing the shift, and it's an all right shift. There's not a whole lot happening. It's just kind of like a normal day overall. I think there was like one instance, but for the most part, we were just like shoveling shit the whole day. It's kind of weird because my official title at the time, and I shit you not, the official title was everything except the supervisor position, because this person cannot be trusted with the supervisor position at this current time. I'm kind of fuzzy on what the acronym for that is right now, but I'll show it to you in editing. And yeah, despite that fact, they had me shoveling shit like I was some entry-level new hire. Like, they really should have known I was too good for that, but hey, I guess they don't recognize talent, do they? Or well, they did, because my position was technically everything except the supervisor position, so I did have quite a bit of leeway there, I imagine, but it doesn't matter now. Anyways, I digress. So anyways, the shift goes great. I end up being off at midnight, but I don't come home until around 1 a.m. because I spend a good chunk of time, literally an hour, talking to some of the employees before I leave. I wasn't always a basement-dwelling NEET, alright? I actually had, like, social responsibilities and, like, social connections that I love to maintain. And even though all that's behind me now and nobody remembers who I am, it was good back then to actually be part of something, you know? There were people there who I really did find a sense of like kinship with, if only because we both shoveled the same shit. And let that be kind of an anecdote for anybody who might have a hard time connecting with their coworkers. You really don't, oh shit, it's getting dark. You really don't know who you're going to be connecting with until you've been in the shit with them. And it could be the unlikeliest combination, but those people who go through it with you and still remain with you after however long you've done it, those are the real ones right there. I get home at 1 a.m. and it's already kind of cutting close to my bedtime, so I don't do any editing for the night. I don't even play any video games for the night. As soon as I get home, I'm getting ready to go to bed even though I'm not even necessarily tired. Because for me, I'm kind of a routine-based person, and I don't usually get tired until around a certain time because of that. So on one hand, while it did kill me internally to be not holding to my routine, and it was causing me to be really shaky and spastic, and I really couldn't sleep until 6 a.m. because of that, at least I was holding true to my steady, healthy schedule by going to bed at 2 a.m. still. So flash forward to the next day, or at least we're technically in the next day because of the a.m. thing. 1:30 p.m. I get up, and I'm rushing because normally I wake up like 1 to 2 hours before my shift starts, so that way I can get like my stuff in order and be done in time for myself to have like 10 to 15 minutes in order to leave at most. But not this time, right? So I'm getting like my hair half brushed, my teeth half brushed, my beard half brushed, everything else half brushed, my clothes half brushed, you get it. On my way out of the door, and I'm going to my car, and I look over again, and there's those two kids with the ball and stick game. But this time, I don't even have time to really register what's going on. The thoughts in my head, oh yeah, I didn't find out what this game was, so I gotta look this up at some point, maybe on my lunch break at work, right? So that's my plan. I'm gonna go ahead and do this on my lunch break at work. I'm not gonna think about it until I get to my lunch break because I have to get to my job. And even when getting there, I'm kind of speeding a bit. I'm going like 5 to 15 above the speed limit in order to get to my job, and luckily there were no cops on the road. Thank Yahweh. And when I get to the clock-in machine, I am right on time, as if it was usual. But it wasn't. For the most part, the rest of the day went fine. So in a way, I kind of did like that the day started off in a bit of a rush, because that matched me in a rush getting there. And it was a nice transition from fast-paced, oh my god, I might be late to my shift, to, okay, things are settling down now, starting to get to a more normal day. And then my lunch comes around like the middle of it, around like 7 p.m., 8 p.m. And that's when I decide, all right, I'm going to go on my lunch. And the next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to get my lunch. I'm going to get the sandwich. I'm going to get the granola bar and the pack of nuts and the fucking body armor drink. Everything that I like to have on a certain particular day, which could be any day actually. And I decided, you know what, this lunch would be a good opportunity to find out what this ball and stick game is. So I pull out my phone, right? And I'm looking through my phone and I'm looking it up. I'm like, okay, what is... Fuck. The ball and stick game. Lo and behold, I didn't find anything. So once again, the purpose of the ball and stick game eludes me, but this time I decide, you know what? Instead of just wondering about it, I'm gonna go across the street one of these days, ask these kids what this game is that they're playing, and then once I find out the rules and how I'm gonna play it, finally, the mystery is gonna be solved. So I'm like, okay, I'll ask them one of these days. Maybe not on a work day because that won't be enough time to really let everything sink in. I'm gonna do it tomorrow when it's my day off. And so that's what I decided to do. So I got home at around midnight, ended up editing some videos until 2 a.m. And then after I went to bed at 2 a.m., I woke up the next day at around 10 a.m. And the way I figured it is that that would be enough time for me, on my off day, mind you, to get myself all pretty, to get myself dressed, you know, hair brushed, teeth brushed, beard brushed, everything brushed, clothes brushed, you name it. However, and this is where things kind of get dark, I get a phone call, right? And it's my mom. And she's telling me that my dad passed away. So I'm on this phone call with my mom and she's telling me more details about it until finally I just lose patience. And so I grab the phone, right? And I'm like, this. Hey, look, it's pretty cool that you called me to, like, let me know about this. Like, I kind of, but I digress. That was just kind of a minor thing. Didn't really get in the way of that much, but it did take up time that I could have been spending figuring out the ball and stick game. And I did let my mom know about that. I'm like, hey, mom, this actually isn't a good time. I'm trying to figure out, like, the rules of this game right now. Can you, like, call me back a bit later and then we can touch base on this sort of thing? And so we come to the final day of the story. I'm going to work, right? Around 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. I'm doing my usual thing. I'm doing my routine, brushing my hair, brushing my beard, brushing arm hair, you know, the whole shebang of details that you need to do is like part of a morning wake-up routine. And on my way out the door to my left, I see across the street the 2 kids from the Mormon family playing the ball and stick game again. Now, I didn't really have enough time to stick around because I was on my way to work, but I did notice a few things about the game that piqued my interest again and made me think, okay, what is this game? I need to figure out what this game is. So I didn't have time to ask them or anything. I ended up going to work, and it was kind of a decent, alright shift. Not too much happened. There was one incident where we had this one dude who was like super mad about something. Like, I think he was on crack or like some form of like upper or something. Because I don't think any downers would make somebody really this pissed off unless they had a true reason to be pissed off, right? And the downers were just helping them like mellow that out. I mean, if that were the case, then I would hate to see what this dude was like if he wasn't on any downers, but let's just assume that he was on uppers for this purpose. No, wait, let's not assume, because I digress. Going through the shift, and it goes all right, and I end up off at 11. I end up going home, and I notice that there's 2 sticks in the yard and a ball. And naturally, I'm like, all right, they're done. You know what? I don't think I'm ever going to be able to figure out this game. I used several Google search engines, I used several days, I used a lot of my time thinking about this game, when really I should have just been assuming that this was just some stupid game that some kids came up with on the spot. And if it was fun for them, then alright, but didn't really have any clear rules. I didn't really know what it was called. Like, maybe it was one of those games from like the ancient like Mesoamerican period or something like that. I don't know. I just gave up at that point. I never did end up finding out what the ball and stick game was, and to this day I still haven't found out what the ball and stick game is, but I had a pretty good time trying to figure it out. So that's my story. Hope you guys enjoyed, and as always,
She give me what I wanna. So I need